Hey guys, thanks for tuning in for episode 3 of The Salt Show, where we discussed everything there is to do with entrepreneurs, things going on in business, things going on in our lives, how to be successful, all that jazz. This episode, we're going to be talking about time management.
Hey,
I'm
David,
David,
this
and
is this is episode 4.
4. Okay. Well, I
I
labeled everything else wrong then.
Yeah, because I counted the Isaac Justin one we did as number one.
Well, then you got to release it. You
It-
need to release that then so people can see episode 1.
I can, yeah. I thought it'd be like a
Okay,
weird.
so
I thought it'd be like a weird thumbprint on our show. Like nobody would, like in 5 years we would release episode 1. Don't you think that's kind of cool? And it's
yeah, but now it totally doesn't work because I just screwed it up.
and it's the worst show ever too because it's just me and Isaac talking about
Yeah.
Blink.
But that probably will be the best show ever in 5 years. We're gonna look back and be like, "That's amazing."
Yeah,
That's
so
cool. It's cool to see the roots of stuff.
I would roll with episode 4.
Okay, let's roll with that and keep this in though.
Okay.
Hey guys, this. All right. Hey guys, this is David. This is episode 4 of The Salt.
Entree IQ breaking in 2017.
And now, ladies and gentlemen,
The Salt with Justin,
Maybe you're in a job and you feel like you're locked down and you can't figure out how to bridge the gap.
Isaac,
But when people are desperate, that's what creates that action.
and David.
I will tell you, I've never one day regretted looking for myself. One day I've never regretted doing this. It's been the best decision I've ever made.
Yeah, turn up the heat. Delivering your startup fix.
This episode, we're going to be talking about time management. We're going to segue kind of in a little bit, discuss a little bit more about the Salt Show, kind of how it came to be and things we've been working on. Again, this is David, and this is...
Justin, or Big Daddy J, some people know me by.
I think that's self-proclaimed.
No, it's really not.
I don't know.
Like I'm not one of those guys that went out and made my own nickname.
No, that's way cooler than that you didn't do that. I have a bunch of cool scores, but I don't have any good stories.
Right.
Either way, so we're going to jump off here. Isaac isn't here tonight. He had some stuff going on, so Jess and I are going to try to roll with 2 of us and see how that kind of dynamic works here. But so we started talking about this whole time management, and we do want to segue in the show a little bit later on. But I think, Justin, I was kind of thinking about this earlier, and it's really cool, not only like the scientific complexity of just what time is, but how it applies. And not only in business, but in our life. I don't want to get too crazy, man, but it's a commodity. It's a commodity that we all kind of share. And it's such a weird rule or law because regardless how much money you have, we also have 24 hours in the day. So we're all bound.
I'm about to get really excited if you're going to start with where time came from and what it really means.
No. I'll go and I'll point at you whenever that comes up.
It'll be a 3-hour show.
Yeah, I think so. But I kind of wanted to kind of make it a little bit more simpler than hopefully a 3-hour show and cut that down to about 30 minutes. But how time applies for, a successful entrepreneur that's already at the top and kind of a guy that's just starting down here. And I think it really starts, Justin, with identifying priorities of where to spend your time. I think that might be one of the biggest differences and maybe misconceptions on when you're rising up the ladder where a time is spent. I know, guys, when I got started in business, a lot of my time was spent learning how to do business and learning really what my niche was, whether that was marketing or sales. For me, that was sales. So early on, I was honing my craft sales-wise and spending my time really adapting and learning in that environment and not so much more the environment I'm in now, which is more of kind of a marketing dynamic or kind of a marketing side. So I think it's cool to see how time evolves just as in a whole in your success of your career. And again, where you were spending time at when you were just a low man on the totem pole to running your own business and what the complexities change in that time frame.
Well, I think that there's so many things we could talk about with time, but I know for me and what I've observed, and I think we all struggle with time management. It's like a roller coaster ride. There's times in your life where it feels like you've got everything figured out and you're killing and slaying the important things every day. And then there's times that you get into life throws you a curveball and all of a sudden you feel like you're in some kind of funk and you can't figure out why you can't seem to get anything done. But, I think it takes a step back, a little bit back, further back and higher up than just priorities, because I do think where you're headed is by identifying priorities, you can figure out where you need to spend the main the largest portions of your time. But
Sure.
I think that, something that I've learned that I think a lot of people miss, and from my observation, they may never figure it out, is that you have to figure out the why. We talk a lot about the why in sales and the why you do what you
Sure.
do. We talk a lot about passion. We talk about like living in your passion. But I think that you have to have an idea of what your purpose is to figure out what your priorities are so that you can figure out how to spend your time. Does that make any sense?
Makes 100% sense. I mean, you got to know the end goal.
Right.
Without understanding the big picture, all these small things, what are they adding up to? What does that mean? Where's your time going, or where's that time heading? So yeah, 100%, man.
Yeah, where are you headed? Like what? And this is a real deep question. We kind of joked about starting with the beginning of time, but I think in order for somebody to be good with their time, which we all struggle with, I think you've got to identify exactly what your purpose is, what your meaning of your life is, what are your core values, what are your passions, and what are you trying to accomplish with your life?
Yeah.
What is your, like you said, what is your end game? Because it's hard to draft good priorities if you have no master plan of what your life is all about. And those priorities that we draft should be based on, this is who I am, and this is what my purpose is, and this is what I want to do with my life. So now I need to make priorities or goals, could be time goals, in order to achieve this lifelong purpose and mission that I have, that I want to accomplish with my life. Did I just say that twice?
Maybe. which is exactly what you said, which is aligning your actions with where you're headed, or the big picture of again, I mean, you're talking about it on a big picture scale, but that really is what everything is in business. I mean, when you're building something, you're not building it to the small scale. Nobody builds a business and says, I want to sell $1,000. They build a business for the future. So by spending your time on those things, again, Justin, like you said, reflecting on what the big picture is, that really helps you be aware of where to spend your time. And why identifying are these tiny little things. I think that's a really important part, Justin, which is you have to identify, why are you doing it? What is the why? To actually become self-aware of how you're spending your own time.
Right, and that it meant, some people find that a lot quicker in their lives than others. And I think if you're a struggling entrepreneur, or if you're a business leader that's trying to make it to the next level, you and I know, well, I'm 38, and in the last 3 or 4 years, these have all been concepts that I've really been wrestling with. However, doesn't mean I wasn't good with time management in the past, because you could have a tactic of time management, then you could have a strategy of time management. The strategy is going to be basically, what is my end game? How am I going to get there? What do I define success as? Doesn't have to be dollars. Could be just living inside your passion, doing the business that you would love. Could be operating that business or in that job or that position that you're in, and trying to do great at that. But I know in the last 3 or 4 years, I've really been working hard on reflecting, self-reflection, and pondering. What am I here for? When I die, what difference does it make? And what do I want to accomplish before I die? And hopefully, it's not to make another $10,000. But So I think once people, my first suggestion would be, if you're watching this video on time management, my very first suggestion would be to take 3 steps back and start to identify what it is that you want to accomplish with your life. And once you figure that out, because that's a hard part, once you figure that out, it's not going to be very difficult now to identify, okay, what priorities do I need to assess? And we can talk about that next. And then start to budget your time.
Yeah, 100%. 100%, Justin. And I mean, again, guys, you spent time, and Justin, that was kind of cool what you said, that you spent time reflecting and really learning about your purpose to be able to do that. And so you could look at that time frame. If I were to look, an outsider looking in, my perception would be maybe, and again, this isn't an attack, but maybe you're wasting your time, because it could easily be looked at as you're spending all of this time focusing on something you should be doing while you could be doing it. And so it's a matter of perception, because by being proactive, which is a huge part, and I would say if you're watching this video, understand being proactive saves you a lot of time in the long run. It really does. By taking the time, Justin, to help you identify your big picture, you saved a lot of time BSing yourself of what you should be doing. And now you're aware and self-aware, and you acknowledge that you're fighting the clock, that you need to spend your time in these areas that helped clear up some distractions. What are distractions do? They waste your time. Figure out what you really need to be doing, guys, to be aware of your purpose so you can eliminate all of your distractions, because that's what most things are in life. Netflix, bad friends, sitting around drinking all the time, or whatever it is, guys, that are taking away your time. A third of our day is spent sleeping. That's out the window, right? We can't get that time back. We need that time. So with the 2/3 of the other time, guys, if you don't have any idea why you're missing a bunch of time, you need to start being realistic with yourself and identifying where is your time spent. And I think there's nothing wrong with taking a week and writing down what you do. Where could I free some time up for my hustle? You hear guys say this all the time, Justin. Oh man, I really want to get this done. I'm so passionate about this. Guys, this is our 4th episode. And we just started talking about this, I believe 3 weeks ago. So if you're realistic with yourself, you have a goal in mind, you start prioritizing that time that was maybe spent, drinking with a buddy, or that was spent watching a football game, or whatever that is. The reason you don't have a show is because you're not prioritizing your time.
No, it's a very good point. And I think once you do know what your meaning and your purpose is, once you've figured out what you're trying to accomplish with your life, I think then when it comes to time management, the best thing to do is to figure out, how do I get there, and work your reverse engineer, which everybody loves to say these days, engineer a plan backwards to accomplish that meaning that you've got in life. You have to identify what things that you can do with your life that will fulfill that meaning.
Yeah.
And there's probably 100 roads to get there. I'm reminded just off the cuff here by a saying that Zig Ziglar had, and he used to say that sometimes people will spend their entire life climbing up the corporate ladder, exhausting themselves just to get to the top of the ladder and realize that the ladder's leaning up against the wrong wall. And
wow.
And I think that's what you've got to first make sure you've got your ladder on the right wall. Once it's on the right wall, and you do that through reflection, and you do that by self-awareness and figuring out, what am I here? What are my gifts, my passions, my talents? What do I love to do? What do I want to do? What brings meaning and value to my life? Put your ladder up against that wall, and then you start to etch out the priorities of each day. And I think that a lot of times, and I know I'm guilty of this, a lot of times we spend a lot of time doing things that are just not productive or important. And I know Stephen Covey talks about this a lot in his 4 quadrants when he talks about time management. The 4 quadrants, he breaks them down into an important, unimportant, and so on. Really fascinating concept. If you haven't read that book, it's a great book to read on time management. But we'll
link it up, guys.
Yeah, we'll link it up. But we spend a lot of time in very urgent things that are just not that important. And but he talks about urgency and non-urgency, and important things and non-important things, and he mixes those up in 4 quadrants. And I know for myself, I spend a lot of time doing things that keep me really busy. And when I step back at the end of the day or the end of the week, or even perhaps months later, I'm like, man, what have I been doing with all my time?
Yeah. And I think that's a trap we all kind of fall in, and it snowballs. I mean, if you start spending all of your time in one area because that's where you think the forest fire is, it starts snowballing. Again, Justin, jumping back, you have to identify what your priorities are, whether that's in life or in business. And while we're focused on, entrepreneurs and kind of the business side of things, because that's what Justin and I and Isaac are interested in, we have to look at this as a whole in our life to become more successful, because business is one piece of the puzzle. But time could be business. It's not tied to any specific thing, guys, whether it's a sport, athletics, where you identify where you need work or what is going to make you better in the industry. That's where you need to spend your time. And I'm a wholehearted believer in that. I think, Justin, I was kind of thinking about the way chess works, and kind of switching gears a little bit here, but I was thinking about the way chess works and how you have all these pieces on the puzzle, right? So you identify them. We've got pawns, we've got, rooks, we've got your bishop, blah, 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 blah. And it's funny because as the game progresses, or as time in the game progresses, things rank, or these pieces rank, or their priorities in the game actually shift, and their power ratio shifts. So a pawn later in the game actually has more power than in the beginning of the game. And I started looking at that as in time and how things in your business and priorities in your business change with the dynamics of what you need to be focused on. But what makes a great chess player is getting checkmate at the end of the game, right? I mean, that's the whole goal of the game. So there's a goal. So again, identifying that goal and understanding different parts of your life, guys, and different parts of your business are going to carry different amounts of weight and power throughout your business life and throughout your success, just like your relationships, whether it's your wife or your husband. Your relationship's going to change, so you have to be able to and be willing to adapt. And I think having the ability, Justin, of what separates insanely good successful people and entrepreneurs is their ability to understand what points they need to spend their time on and what complex or what individual piece of the puzzle or the chess game really needs your time and really needs your attention, just like great employees.
So that's a great point you make about the that's a great point you make about the chess game, and I don't know that I've ever looked at time that way, but one of the things I love about your analogy is that when you begin to play a game of chess, you're right. You know from the outset what the end game is. It's to kill that queen or the king. And that's your goal. And every move you make, every tactic you deploy is with the end game in mind of killing that king. And in life, I think sometimes that's the thing we're missing. We don't know what we're trying to accomplish. We're playing chess and we're trying to get all the pieces killed, and we're trying to avoid getting killed ourselves. But we have we don't have any strategy to apply to killing that king. So, man, I think that's a great analogy. I never thought about it as applied to time, but I do want to emphasize the point of priorities. Instead of scheduling your days or your weeks or your months, it's good to have short, midterm, long-term goals. You should, because they map out your progression to fulfill your life and bring that meaning to your life that you're looking for. But when it comes to more micro time management, the priorities should be the things that kill something. I mean, the priority should really be the meat, the heart, and the guts of what you do. So if you're in sales, or if you're in sales, then 80% of your time needs to be prioritized and budgeted to sell something. And if you're in accounting, you need to revenue. You need to be revenue tied on your time. And I also recommend trying to do the most important and the most hectic schedule in the morning, because I think we're clearer in the mind. And if you watched our episode last week on what successful people do in the morning, I think, that time from, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning when I start working till noon, I get way more. I probably get 3 times as much done in that span than I do in the afternoon, even if I work late into the night. Sometimes at night I get a lot done because there's a lot less distractions. My kid's in bed, my wife's asleep, and it's easy for me to plow through some work. But that's my take on time management, but I like that chess analogy.
Thanks, man. Yeah, and really, when I was looking at it too, there are some practical things I wanted to throw out we can discuss real quick, Justin. And one of those would be like, I don't know how many times I've heard somebody say, I wish there was a clone of me when they have employees. People always say that. A lot of really great sales guys, marketers are like, man, if we could just clone this guy or the golden child or this person, our business would be, much better as a whole. But these are the same businesses, Justin, that don't put any time into actually hiring good talent. They don't put any time on training talent. And so I think, guys, if you're really going to try to increase your time or do these types of things, you really have to put your money where your mouth is. You have to devote that time in willing to build up the future. If you're just working for today, you're only going to end up with productivity of the day. You're not really building the future. And I think one thing that's huge, Justin, and we're going to talk about this time frame now, which is awesome, that separates us now from the 1950s is used to be able to think about this, guys. Used to have to go door to friggin' door talking to people on an individual scale. And now we can talk to people on such a huge, massive scale, on a worldwide scale, guy, with very limitations of money and finances. We're doing a Skype call right now. It doesn't cost us a dime. I don't know how many people we can invite to do this one-on-one call, but probably quite a few. You can throw stuff up on Instagram. So this has to do with time, guys, in the way that if you were a marketer, Now, if you can employ tactics, practical tactics to market directly to people, you're saving yourself a lot of time other than just running, one huge campaign that's going to be seen by a ton of people. So what you have to start doing is use this technology, guys, to start building yourself practical uses to spread your time out a little bit wider. Plan your social media posts so you can come up with 20 posts on one day and schedule them out for the next month. These are things, guys, that are important that you do because it does save you time. If you don't have a lot of money, you have to get creative. People with money can hire people to do those time-consuming tasks that they don't have time to do. Or maybe it's something that's not directly revenue-generating. If you're a sales guy, you're not going to sit and do accounting all day because that's not your forte, guys, unless you don't have the money to do that. But now you can download an app to do the accounting for you. So I would say if there's kind of a pain in your business as an entrepreneur, find an app or find a way to be creative to get some of that time back. Everybody's got a pain in their business. You don't have to spend a lot of money to free up some of that time. For me, a lot of that was, look, I couldn't learn how to code. I don't have enough time for my idea to be put out to the masses to learn how to code and go through school. So I used Wix, which is more of a graphic-based program, where if you can basically copy and paste, you can create a website. It doesn't. I think it took me 2 years, Justin, where people would probably learn how to do in 7-8 years of coding, and that's it. And so I used that thing to buy myself more time.
Yeah, it's a great point. I also think that when you talk about duplicating yourself, it's critical to invest in what you want to get back. And so if you're trying to get your time back, it's going to require some investment. So you're going to have to invest your time to get your time. And it's just what you said. You may be training other people. A lot of people, I think, want to skip the investment and just get to the reward. But sometimes you got to invest in the areas that for a little while to be able to reap the rewards for it. But it's another good point.
And what's cool, Justin, is, Justin and I worked together back in the day, which is kind of hey, guess what? So it's kind of a cool dynamic that we have as far as our relationship. But guys, one of the best things, and this is practical, that Justin did when I worked for him is I was running some car lots for him, and he made it imperative that I actually worked with my people. And see, guys, I thought my time was best spent kind of working over people, which sounds a bit cocky, right? But that's how most managers look, that I work over people and not alongside people as an equal. But when you work with people, guys, as an equal, you actually end up creating that mold, and you actually have some type of influence, and you develop a relationship. And man, when I started doing that, Justin, I don't know if I even ever told you this, but when I started investing my time in my people, sales increased. I was happier. People were happier. And it's weird how I saw that dynamic shift of where I was spending all this time running around trying to figure out what I should be doing instead of just doing what I should be doing in the first place.
It's a big hang up, and I think that a lot of people, including myself, have struggled with it throughout my career. Still have to keep myself grounded to be able to not fall into that trap, because I don't know if it's because some people are just different or what, but it's easy for a lot of people that I've seen to get stuck in the trap of just thinking about what they're going to do, get caught up in the non-important, urgent things. They're building logos and setting up tax ID numbers and doing all this thing to set up a business when, like what we talked about earlier, we've done 4 shows already and we have spent very little time on anything else. Because we're developing the product and we're in the middle of the weeds of what our product or our service is. So I also too, I'll make another point too. Obviously it's different for everybody. If you're selling something right now, then you need to be selling. If you're managing salespeople, then you've got to be with those salespeople. Too many people are in a closet looking at a computer and data when they need to just be training and investing in them. Another great concept by Stephen Covey in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, talk about the golden egg concept. And you've somehow been successful enough to lay golden eggs. And the trick now is to teach other people how to lay these golden eggs. Really great storyline. I recommend you get that book and read that story about the golden eggs. It talks about this very thing.
We'll link that up too.
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude. That is so cool.
Hey, good time.
And I think, look, what's that?
Good times. Get it?
Yeah. Yeah, by the way. Yeah, I got you.
This is my joke of the day.
But yeah, I hear you. It was a good one. I'm sorry, I was making notes. But yeah, guys, I think we're right in the same lines, Justin. I mean, it really is identifying your big picture, guys. Really learning what's the why. And you hit on something, and Mark Zuckerberg. I threw him in last episode too, and I feel like I'm a Zucker fan or whatever they would call me.
Zucker.
Yeah, there we. Oh, coined. We're gonna coin that. But either way, so he was actually talking about how many people actually start, like, they're so into starting the business, they don't even have a product yet. They don't even have a service. They're so business focused. And he was talking about the early days of Facebook that they didn't really even think it was going to be a thing. He didn't ever think he was going to monetize this. Really, he was more focused on the actual product than he was starting a business. And I think that's an important concept, guys, that when you're starting a business, so many people, Justin, you hear people that are like, especially business owners, they're almost worse than people that have never owned a business because they have an idea and tomorrow they're going to get an LLC. Just because they understand what LLC means. It's exciting now, right? Limited liability, yay. We have no liability, even though most guys don't even know what that truly means tax-wise. But either way, they're so excited about just starting a business that they forget you have to have something to sell. You have to have something to market, which is research and developing, testing, going over the market, getting feedback, doing surveys. Guys, there is a lot of work to all those things. So I think that the big thing, Justin, like you said, you got to have the why. Why in the hell are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And what challenge or what pain does that solve? Put your time into figuring out what's going on with people. Guys, if you're not a people person, and I joke around and say this sometimes, and I'm like, man, I just need some time to myself. But if you're not a people person, you really, I can't see you making it as an entrepreneur. I really don't. And so I think when you invest your time in people and you invest your time in learning people and understanding society, those are the things that are going to pay off. Those are the things you got to focus on. Don't let your lunch turn into a 2-hour lunch because you turn Netflix on in the background. Don't let your conversation with, a random person that's going to take 5 minutes turn into 6 hours that's not really going anywhere productive because in your head, hey, this is funner than going to work. Because, guys, it's going to be work until it becomes a Ferrari or until it becomes fun. And then the dynamic changes. And now you're out socializing and you're doing the things to build your brand and build your own brand up. And I think the fun comes later. That's kind of the part of the success where you're kind of on top. But spend your time wirelessly, guys. There's no reset button on this stuff. I mean, you get one.
It's a good point. And the only other thing I have to add to this time management piece is for many of you, if you find yourself just increasingly unhappy and everything is just work and a push and a grind and you're miserable and you are wanting to make a change and you're just unhappy with the way things are going, there's a good chance that you haven't figured out the why. That's probably what the problem is. I'd say 90% of the time you haven't figured out what your purpose is and what your meaning is on life. And I think if you take a step back and figure that out, I think you'll quickly realize, man, that's it. That's what my problem is. Now, figuring out, doing some self-reflection and figuring out where to go from there, that could take some time to get there.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people, if they watch this episode and they feel like they're stuck in a ditch digging and they don't want to be there, I think this whole idea of figuring out what your purpose is going to make a lot of sense. Maybe some light bulbs will come on.
100%. Justin, I kind of wanted to lead out. I think it's been a really good talk, and I kind of wanted to end with this. If I feel like this is a really good place that we're at right now. But June 26th of 2016, guys, I was in a head-on collision. I was hit by a drunk driver, and I was hit again by a second car head-on. And I haven't really even talked to a lot of my friends about the wreck. But I'll tell you, guys, my perception after that wreck, it shifted. I mean, it shifted 180 degrees of what I thought was important in life and really where I was spending my time. And I'm looking at the blessing part of this, that now I can look at things and truly see them for what they are. And yeah, some of that kind of starts wearing away over time, right? Because it's a traumatic event. And as time goes on, people start forgetting things. But this is still pretty fresh in my mind, guys, that my entire perception and the dynamic of how I looked at time and the importance of things I was doing in my life completely changed. And I really want you to think about where you're spending your time. If you were in a car wreck tomorrow, or if you were killed tomorrow, where are you spending your time and what's really important to you? I don't mean to sit in bed every day and wallow, that, oh, woe is me, nothing I do matters, because it does matter. If you feel like what you're doing doesn't matter, you are the only person that's going to change that. And it doesn't take a head-on car crash or a drunk driver hitting you guys. And I know, there's people that do these, public announcements, and they go to schools. When you're in high school, I'm sure somebody came and talked to you that tried to change your life. But guys, this happened to me, and it could happen to you. I never thought, hey man, this could happen to me and put my world at a complete shift. Be happy when you wake up tomorrow, your wife or your significant other, you're not getting a call. I'm not trying to be morbid, that they're dead. It's going to completely change. I mean, these are things that happen to people, guys. I want you, every morning you wake up, to be able to look at yourself and say that the day that I spent today, I will never get back. And I'm going to do what I think I need to do today to make a legacy for myself and for my family, or for whatever your big picture is. And if I think you can live every day like that, which is what we're all striving for, right? But if you can truly live every day for that purpose, or find a purpose to live for in that regards, everything you do, guys, in life is a cakewalk. I thought so many things were so important before that happened to me that it just kind of freed my mind. And I'm actually, it was kind of a blessing in a disgusting way, to be able to look at the world that way now. And I'm glad that I was able to share this story with you guys today, and it wasn't a little bit different than what happened. So
it's good stuff, David. I wanted to say one thing on the springboard on that, and that is,
yeah.
And this may not be real popular, but I think it's the truth, and that is, there's so many people out there that you can find them all over the internet that are trying to disclose secrets for you to make $1 million or to make $100 million, or to be rich and famous, and it's so materialistically grounded that I think one of the things that perhaps you're alluding to in your rec is there are more meaningful things in this life, like happiness, and because you can make a lot of money being unhappy, and most people are, many people are. Yeah. But I mean, really being who you are, and finding that person, and then going out and practicing a trade, if you will. Hopefully, it's in an entrepreneurial umbrella, but it could be in a position supporting another person's business or nonprofit or association, and really flourishing and understanding and identifying who you are. I believe that you're going to find a lot more meaning to life, and I believe that the money will come. And I think do you know what I believe, David? I think the money comes from practice. I think when you love what you do and then you practice it over and over again, you find better ways to do it and ways to enhance your product and service to other people. But it really always comes back to the why and who you are and what you're doing. So I know it may not be overly popular, because I didn't just give you 3 steps on how to become rich in 60 days. Yeah. But I perhaps gave you a lifetime of information of how to truly be happy. And when you're lying on your deathbed, perhaps you're going to look back at your life and say, man, I did what I wanted to. I lived a fulfilled life. I had a great time. I got to help other people. I think that when we really truly find our true calling, we'll find ourselves serving others in some form or fashion and trying to help support their lives and their success. I think that's a big critical part of it as well. I promise that's all I got.
Yeah, no, 100%, Justin. And I think that's when guys like us that truly care about somebody watching this, or somebody getting into business or success and how to live better and how to be happier, we actually care about that for you. It's not just a thing we're trying. Look, guys, we could actually do this on our own and not have to do a show and probably get more done. Obviously, we're not getting anything off of this. We're not making any money off of it. We're doing it because we're sharing the things that have affected us, and we're hoping to inspire change so that you can live the better version of you. Essentially is what we're trying to do. I'm going to tell you, man, if you could invent an experience that car crash gave me without the trauma, if you could become self-aware like that, guys, I'm just saying, somebody out there at MIT figured that out, some scientists.
I was about to say, it sounds like a great business idea. Maybe we got to start that one tomorrow.
It is, but really, guys.
Fake real crashes.
Yeah, fake real crashes. That's horrible. I guess you could prank somebody into believing it. But either way, I mean, guys, again, just identify what the real why is in your life. And I think you hit it right on the head, Justin. I love that.
Well, guys, we appreciate you tuning in to The Salt. And today it was me and David. Isaac couldn't join us tonight. He'll be back next week. Next Wednesday, check us out at 6 a.m. where we're going to be talking about, what are we talking about next week, David?
We're going to talk about behind the scenes of the Salt Show.
behind the scenes at the Salt Show, where we're really going to do a recap or a conversation about what we've done so far, kind of like an after action review, and look at where our little small online salt business is started to progress out of the gate. We'd love to get your input too, because you can make that show a lot better by putting some comments below. Please subscribe and like our show if you have enjoyed it, or even if you haven't. If you hate our show, you can leave comments too. That'll help us grow even better. But check us out next 6 a.m. next Wednesday. We appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
See you.